This video is about ratios. The goal is I can determine a ratio given a picture diagram, and I can write a ratio in simplest form. Let's start with the review exercises. The directions say solve each of the following. Number 1, we have 2/3 plus 5/9. In order to add two fractions, we have to have a common denominator. And the common denominator of 3 and 9 is going to be 9. So for the first fraction, to get 9, I need to multiply both the top and the bottom of the fraction by 3. So we have 3 times 3 is 9, and then 3 times 2 is 6. So we have 6/9 plus 5/9, which is equal to 11/9. Number 2, we have 8/9 times 5/3. We multiply fractions, we multiply across the top and the bottom. So 8 times 5 is 40, and 9 times 3 is 27. We can't simplify this fraction, so our answer is just 40 over 27. Number 3, the absolute value of -4 minus 3. So first I'm going to do -4 minus 3, which is a -7. And then the absolute value of -7 is a +7. And then number 4, we have the absolute value of -5 plus 9. -5 plus 9 is 4, and then the absolute value of 4 is still 4. Let's move on to ratios now. What is a ratio? A ratio is a comparison of two quantities. A ratio can be written in 3 different ways. The first way, let's say for example we're writing the ratio 3:2, we could use a colon in the middle, so 3:2. We could write out the word 2 and say 3:2. And then number 3, we could write as a fraction, 3/2. So those are 3 different ways that you can write a ratio. Let's try some example problems. Number 1 says the ratio of squares to circles. So we want to count up the number of squares, and we have 1, 2, 3 squares. So since squares are written first, I'm going to write the squares part first. So we have 3 squares. And I'm going to write it with the colon first, and then if we count up the number of circles, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 circles. So I'm going to put the 4 second. So we have 3:4. Again, we could also write it like this, 3:2:4, or we could write it as a fraction of 3 over and then 4. So those are the 3 different ways. Let's try number 2. We have the ratio of circles and squares to total shapes. So the first part of this is circles and squares. So we want to add up together both the circles and the squares. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 circles and squares. So we have 5 to total number of shapes. Well, if I add up the total number, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 total shapes. So that would be 5 to 9. I could also write it as 5 to 9, or I could write it as 5/9. Directions. There are 16 girls and 12 boys in a class. Number 3 asks us to write the ratio of girls to boys. So there's 16 girls, so it'd be 16. I'm going to write with the colon and then 12 boys. Now this ratio, 16 to 12, can be simplified. Think of the fraction. We could also write it like this, 16/12. How could we simplify that fraction? Well, we could divide both the top and the bottom of the fraction by 4. So 16 divided by 4 is 4, and 12 divided by 4 is 3. So our simplified ratio is 4 to 3. So you could either leave it as a fraction like this, we could write 4 to 3, or we could write 4:3. Number 4, we want to find the ratio of girls to the total class. Well, the number of girls is 16 girls, and then the total class, if I add 16 plus 12, would be 28. So we would have 16 to 28. I'm going to write this again as a fraction to simplify it. You don't have to, but I like to write as a fraction. And again, I could divide both the top and the bottom of the fraction by 4. So 16 divided by 4 is 4, and 28 divided by 4 is 7. So the ratio of girls to the total class is 4 to 7, and I can write it all 3 ways.